All right. We're back. A little bit of technical difficulty. So, I think we cut right off as Asura was getting started here. So,
Yeah.
So what I was saying is Asura has a bit of trouble getting out of Tiratha as you find out that you took on an open-ended deal where you took on everything that he had in motion, which turned out to involve a lot of crazy things that had to be untangled. He was weaving a very tangled web in Tiratha, and a lot of it you didn't really understand, including contracts with devils in different ways and different places that some of them take a while and a lot of effort to work your way out of without doing too much damage. But you are able to grow the movement. A place like Tiratha it could take generations to break. If it ever does, but you definitely make a difference in quite a few people's lives. Prince Destrian does make contact with you and provide some secret aid to you. Resham does eventually find you, and we had talked briefly about you being a little nervous.
Yeah, I'm very nervous about him seeing this part of myself. The child part of myself that did terrible things, and she doesn't hold the same guilt that she did for herself, but there's still a little bit of an anxiety of like being this exposed to somebody and being this vulnerable and this like uncovered, especially of the terrible things she did.
Well, as far as the work itself, Resham just says, I've spent the last few years fighting for others' freedom, and I think I've grown to like it.
I feel like a conversation needs to be had about a lot of things, but the biggest thing is I don't plan on stopping this. I have found something that I want to be very good at in my life, and I want to do, and that is to build a world in which people have the ability to make decisions and fight against systems that otherwise felt too big. And I want to build secrets and powerful underpinnings that protect the smallest of people. I'm not here to topple kingdoms, at least not directly, but I don't plan on stopping this.
Well, are we frozen?
Stopped it, yeah.
No, the music's just having a...
No.
Screen
The
recording.
screen
We're
just
good.
cut
Yeah,
out?
we're still good.
Okay.
The music's just having some... We're fine.
We're like panicked every time the sound goes out.
No, I'm keeping an eye on it.
Okay.
So, you say all that.
Yep.
He sort of takes it all in for a moment. He says, well, I think that's part of why I love you.
Oh. There's a couple other things I would like to say. Firstly, I love you too. But I don't want children. Ever. I carry my father's blood, and I refuse to let any other creature on this planet carry it too. And I would never want him to be able to have any power on this earth or any other. If that is a deal breaker for you, I wanted to give you an out now.
Well, I think Ether is likely to mate. He'll probably have eggs. It's good enough for me.
Okay. And I don't know how long I'm going to be living. I don't know what my blood means for me in the longevity of life. And I have made promises to very powerful beings to be available to them. If that is something you would be interested in. But I will live a full life of so many years of danger, and I am planning to live as long as possible through it.
Well, I am half dragon, so I'll probably live to at least 1,000.
I don't.
So, how about we take 1,000 years and see from there?
Okay. I like shake his hand. Just in like the awkwardness of like I've basically made like a promise to this man for like 1,000 years of like companionship. She just like
At the age of 23.
at the age of 20, like my childhood age, and I just like shake his hand.
Which he takes and pulls you in for a kiss.
I kiss him. Yeah. Oh, and I'm not going to be good with money. I like physically cannot be good with money because the one that is not as powerful as the one, but is more powerful than the currency that is your dragon's skills. I cannot physically be in proximity of it. It physically makes me ill. It is a curse I get to walk with for 1,000 years at least.
Okay.
So,
That seems easy to work around.
cool, great. Yes. Just wanted to let you know that I was never going to be good at physically handling the money.
Okay.
I'm going to keep the house in Karandia for as long as I can. Going to keep it open for anybody who needs it, so at least in that regard we could have a place to crash when we're in Elduin. But otherwise, I don't plan on having a home anywhere.
I imagine this work would take us all sorts of places.
If you're okay with never really having roots anywhere.
I think we would like that.
Okay. As Zura is continuing to build kind of her networks and connections, she's forging connections with all of her people and whatever businesses they're building. She connects you with the giant guy that runs the storage place that I had built my connection with. So you act like I'm building legitimate business, basically on top of anything underpinnings that I'm whispering through. I again continuing to help build and facilitate in the growth of the shambles. Continuing to develop my understanding of contracts, especially around devil's contracts. Not only for now dealing with the fact that I'm kind of in perpetuity dealing with that particular weave, but also I want to slowly kind of undermine my father a little bit. And subtly, like I'm not trying to go after him directly, but any opportunity that I can like see like a weird loophole that kind of like fucks over any devil's ability to like latch a soul conclusively, like I basically just continue to find opportunity when I'm developing all these whisperer networks to just continue to fuck with him in that way indirectly and continue to kind of undermine his power. I continued building my relationship with my grandmother as best as I can, despite the fact that like she's also and Ageless being on her own journeys. But I because I'm the person who never really sits still, I get the opportunity to constantly check in on everybody. All the relationships we've built, I continue to forge those. I continue that relationship with Bear's sister as best as I can. You know, I'm never really stable anywhere, but like just slowly building my access, and I really take the time to understand Hadressa's systems and like work with her a little bit and learn from her as best I can. Obviously she's going to still have her network, and my goal is not to undermine her but to branch further away from where she is. I really prioritize kind of building this international network because my goal is to ultimately have ears wherever that fuckwit wizard ended up so that I can fuck him up, because I know that's going to take time and I'm going to build my power over time. But you will start to find that there is a like name in certain circles that start to show up, especially underground circles. Especially you might start hearing it with the whisper network of the underground that was loosely attached to you for a while. Is you start to hear about the eyes, that the eyes are watching, that the eyes are everywhere, and some people like start to like wear like hidden little emblems that are like stitched eyes inside their clothing. I don't make anybody do any of that, but like Asura, when she comes back after a period of time, like she has like eyes stitched inside of her clothes, and all the eyes are, every eye is a different color, and she like starts to like basically build a network of like different colored eyes inside of her clothing, as like a way to like show that she is constantly watching, and that her people are watching, and that the Eldrin are watching, and just kind of building that. But the home in Elduin is always warm. There's always a fire. The library is constantly getting full of more and more information and just like lore and like random what seem to be lost pieces of information. She's constantly filling that library with knowledge. And I think at some point, Asura, she gifts Resham a ring. After a couple days, she has a ring on her tail, and I don't know if he knows what it means because he had a tiefling friend. If we ever get to meet his tiefling friend, I don't remember if she was already gone or not.
Oh.
Because he had said that he had a tiefling friend, and Asura's never had a tiefling friend since everything went down. She's been affiliated with tieflings, but never had a friend who was a tiefling.
Yeah, I think that'd probably be doable. Take her to visit and at least meet her. She's up in the province of Highwind, or now Kingdom of Highwind, in Lyrandil. She had to be in hiding for a while while she was working on things. Asha is her name. She was adopted by some nobles there, who hid her away, and she worked with Adris in the rebellion for a while. But yeah, you'd be able to meet her.
And Asura spends her life just perpetually undermining like systems that are enslaving people, hurting people. She prioritizes making sure that people who don't have power in other means, don't have finances in other means, constantly have an opportunity to make a small crack in the world for themselves. Like, she really takes to heart that idea that like the worst things that were happening in the world was because there was cracks in the world, and she's going to be like, the cracks are little ways to get out of things too. Like, so she kind of just builds that and continues her relationship with the Eldrin, passing information. You know, she becomes very good at kind of like currying things around, kind of taking back a little bit of that, because she used to smuggle people away, and now she kind of does the same thing, but she kind of curries things around as best she can. If ever there's any information about your people, I always sneak that out to you so that you can find them faster as best as possible. Yeah, and that's kind of her life. And if there are eggs, she's gonna be the happiest auntie ever. And of course she's gonna visit all the families that are being built.
Well, Hadressa is willing to mentor you. She begins to teach you the ways of mystery and information networks, of persuasion and deception, of the usefulness of magic, whether you like it or not,
I begrudgingly learn it.
and the ways of using people's own tendencies and propensities to manipulate beliefs and perceptions. Something combined with just her understanding of people and their motivations and how they work and how to get them to do what they want or instill fear or anything like that, you begin to understand why she's so dangerous and such a dangerous power, and you come to realize it's far greater than magic or weaponry could ever do. You also have communication with Hira regularly as part of this, and other members of the Eldrin. Resham, of course, works with you carrying out missions, standing by your side, much as Trill does for her Dressa, except with a romantic element. I'd say at times it's not an easy relationship. You've been through too much, and like those kinds of pasts don't pass without leaving scars. Yet you find in Resham a typically patient, understanding mate. And you help him become less awkward. With all the skills you gain, especially with Adressa, you were able to help him with that, gaining better social skills and understanding society better in ways that he never gained growing up in the wilderness as he did. And so you end up being very good for each other. Some years pass, and during one of your visits to Carandia, you're visited by your grandmother, who appears, and she says, Asura, I've just completed a mission, and we found something, and I have been granted permission to use it with you. And she hands you a scroll. It's a lost magic. It's a spell that can bring someone to you from anywhere.
Oh.
Do you mean
We could get her.
I'm barely like breathing, and I'm like immediately unrolling it and like putting it in front of her, and I
So she takes it and reads the scroll. You see the scroll burn away, and then there's a flash. And you see the woman you saw in your vision, Marithia, dressed in a pure white dress, suddenly standing in your midst and terrified, looking around.
I don't approach her. I let my grandmother approach her.
It takes some time. Luckily, your grandmother, being what she is, has some ability to calm with her own power, and is able to explain the situation, explain who she is, and then finally explain who you are. And it takes a minute for her to sink in. It's like you can tell she doesn't trust what's happening. But after what seems like ages, she walks over and
just like gently like touch like the like outside edge of her like fabric and like slowly press my hands in so she can feel me.
You're big. You're so beautiful.
You're beautiful.
She looks strikingly similar to what you saw in the vision, despite all the time that's passed. But you can see in her eyes that it's like ages have passed. But, of course, she embraces you.
Hold her so tight.
As time passes, as you get to know her, you see she is forever haunted by her time at Asmodeus' garden, but will speak very little of it.
I don't ask her questions.
It takes her a long time to be able to sleep well, even longer for her to begin to escape from the mental prison she lives in. Here you find, if I think maybe even by chance, you find that Octo would be of great help here. He begins to take regular walks with her, and slowly Marithia the person begins to emerge. Eventually, you start to see a sweet woman who likes to work hard, and who eventually develops a love for games. Card games, board games, tile games. Even though she's not good at, she still loves playing. Almost like she has spent so much time in such a serious place that to be able to play is like paradise. And she will forever carry some of the effects. A need for near perfect levels of cleanliness in her living quarters at all times, perfectly clean clothes, extraordinary care in everything she does. Even removing game pieces from a bag is done with care, precision, perfectly lining up pieces and arranging them. Yet despite the ghosts of her mind, I think you'd find in her a subtle rock of sorts that you eventually come to find that you can rely on. She does not show overwhelming affection, but instead demonstrates love through acts of service. Always feeding you if you're around, always mending clothing or running errands if you need it, or listening attentively to anything you say, and without judgment. She simply loves and accepts you like it's just a part of life, as though it's not something to make a big deal out of, but rather something your life is partially defined by. It just is. Like the sun rising each morning is part of living in the world. But now you have a mother, a grandmother, and a mate, and more family that you've grown along the way.
She's never without a new game every time I come home. And she's never without a cup of tea when she plays.
Mm-hmm. I think lastly, During one of the visits, Inthrus would invite you all to a feast, along with other guests. You find out Irada, who is invited, continues to grow his business, making a name for himself as a designer of magical clothing and eventually artificing. Iziri is able to travel and join and visit with you guys. Felduna joins you.
I love Felduna. Oh, I'm glad she's okay.
But not a close friendship, but something of a friendship with her and Inthrus develops, and with you if you like. But she ends up in the Waterfall district working with her sister who is a potter, like a well-known plate maker. And just wants, like you, to live quietly. Despite having power, she doesn't really want to participate in that anymore. Trill is able to join. Windra, the Duchess, joins. Visset, Resham, of course, and your various partners and companions. And you spend your time reflecting on everything that's passed, everything that you've been through, everything that you've learned, and continue to do. And continue to learn more and more about all the effects that you've had on this world and this universe at large, and continue to have in the future. And that's where we'll end it.
Yay.
Happy endings, happy endings.
Bittersweet endings too. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
So
Thanks,
good.
yeah.
It's
Thanks,
been a
everyone.
ride.
And
I thought I was gonna be so good and not cry.
Why were you dying laughing? It's not like you didn't know my backstory.
No, it was the
actually
way.
didn't.
It was
You
the
didn't
way.
know my backstory?
It was the way your mom was speaking. I was like, no, this is so sweet and so weird and so funny. It was just the how she was spinning the narrative. It was just catching me and like that. Like it's sweet, but I think it's so funny.
I'm so glad you went there. I was worried.
Sweet.
Because, like, when I was like, I had to think about it, and I was like, I mean, obviously a half-orc is a half-orc.
Yeah.
But, like, in too many stories, you think about, probably, like, a bunch of orcs going into a town and, like, raping women and stuff like that. And I was
Girl,
like,
let's not use
and I was like, it doesn't have to go like that. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be a way to make this. And then when I wrote that, not knowing the way the orcs were in this world. And so then when Doug told me, he's like, oh, dude, your mom's not going to be, like, intelligent, man. Like, they're brutes. And I was like, oh. I was like, that puts a whole new spin on my backstory.
Wait, was your dad a human?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, my dad was a human. He was a missionary.
Okay.
And, like, yeah. You heard what she said.
That's
And,
part of why I wasn't okay. They
Yeah.
viewed humans as weaklings, and they wouldn't be okay with a half-orc.
Nope. They're going to eat me. But you were dying, and Doug still kept a straight face.
I'm so sorry. I was trying
impressed.
so hard to keep my shit together, but then he would say another thing, and I was like, no, this is so cute, but also horrible. But also lovely. Like, it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm ruining this.
No, it was good. I was very surprised and touched.
What was your role?
Oh yeah, for Ardashir. So I think Ardashir would probably rarely, but occasionally try to visit. I think he would try to have something of a relationship with you, if possible. I don't think it would ever be close, most likely.
Okay.
I think he still maintains his belief. I think he still serves the church, and
Rip.
yeah, doesn't really become convinced otherwise.
I mean, seeing that power in person probably did a number on his brain.
Sure.
Along with many other things.
Sure.
Let's not get into those.
Yeah.
A little over 5 years.
Yep.
How long does Asura live?
Oh yeah, quite a while.
Yeah.
Quite a while. She's probably not quite immortal, but to most people's eyes, would certainly look like it. It's, especially with your amulet and everything like that.
It slows me down quite a bit.
Yeah, it's quite a while. Quite a while.
Do I outlive Russian?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Wow.
Dang.
Long time.
I don't think Asura would be afraid of having another person after Resham. I think Resham really like opened her eyes to the idea that like a relationship is important no matter the length of that relationship. Like it matters that you were connected to somebody for a period of time. I don't think she would follow Enthras's like
Yeah.
closing off. And I think periodically I'm like, Enthras, I promise you it's gonna be okay.
I would say you probably find a special companionship with Enthras because of the time.
Yeah.
It's just different when you're living that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, we die first.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, I'm Valen. Rip.
Look,
He's a human, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
really
but
do.
as a monk, I'd probably live a little bit longer. Maybe like.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you get all the way up to level 20, isn't there like the undying? Don't you have like a
Yeah, I stopped
Well,
aging at
ageless
16.
body
I
or
stopped
something?
aging, but I can still die.
Yeah,
old
he'll
age.
die of
Yeah.
old age, but he'll look like he does.
Yeah. I get to 35. I'm like, I'm not aging anymore.
How long do you live?
like 750 years or something like that?
Yeah.
So a long time.
You
hang out, too.
You hear me. You hear from
Yeah.
me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why every
Yeah,
10 years
yeah.
we check in. All right,
Yeah, we're
alive?
every 10
Let's
years.
have a
Every 10 years I check in. You good? Okay, let's have a shoot off.
have you lost any of your skills, sir?
And because I forgot to mention, you probably wouldn't find Arizaya.
Damn.
He is in.
Really?
Damn.
He is.
I live a long
1,000
life.
years?
He probably
knows how to
dies.
cover his tracks.
Yeah.
And he's a powerful, powerful wizard who is. Yeah. He's not
It's
one.
always in the back of her head though that it's like the one that got away, but like
Yeah.
not in the love way, but like in the
Right.
I should have murdered him when I had the chance way.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
And I never lose that skill because if I'm ever in proximity of him, I've got that
Right,
that feat.
right.
I'm just forever stuck with this unusable feat.
Yep, yep.
I kind of love that though. I'm not gonna lie, that I like that kind of open end. Damn. Okay, Sarah, let's go.
All right.
I'm gonna miss everybody's characters in
Yeah.
this story.
Me too.
What happens to Abuelita's body?
Did she become a golem?
Does she show up again in her 1,000+ years of life?
We gotta. We're gonna. Yeah, there. You start.
No,
There's
no.
a bunch. There's a bunch more. There are a bunch more questions. That we have. Like, isn't that what we're supposed to do in the wrap up?
We can do it. We can definitely do a wrap
Oh,
up.
I wasn't sure if we were actually gonna do it. I thought you guys
Yeah.
said-
No, it sounds
I
like
think we're gonna try to do it over Zoom and
Perfect.
and
Yeah.
it'll be easier and yeah.
Because if you're gonna ask that, then you're gonna ask about the other dead body that we were lugging around.
Yeah, I
You
want
know
to
what I mean?
know.
Like we've got some stuff
I
that's
have
like.
so many questions.
Yeah.
I want to know about my jar of eyeballs. Whose eyeballs were they? I carried it around for years.
Have a list of names in my notes if you ever ask whose eyeball this is.
Listen, I don't know how detailed you are. I don't know your life. I don't know your life.
Amazing.
So yeah, we will try to do an episode where we kind of debrief and they're able to ask questions and of each other and just kind of talk about things and the 5-year campaign and everything else. So yeah, what do you say after a journey like this?
Yeah.
It's,
For those of you watching, we love you all.
yeah, for sure.
And thank you for sticking with us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for a beautiful story.
Yes.
That goes for everyone.
Yes.
Thank you for sticking with us.
Very, very
Thanks for letting me come in, get out, come back in.
And join at the end.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love having everybody along for the journey.
Yeah, well, and I think it's even more special because you guys are friends. Like, I genuinely enjoyed being with you guys in general. It's not just a D&D game, you know, it's not just loving the game, it's loving you guys. And yeah, it's like I said before we even started streaming, it's like this means something. It's like this is a genuine experience for all of us, and you know, it's special. So, all right.
Night.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.